cut across live to these pictures coming in from Kazan in Russia. The Prime Minister's aircraft has landed. He's all set to attend that crucial BRICS Summit. All eyes, though, however, on the Prime Minister's meet that is likely with the Chinese Premier. But look at these pictures coming in from Kazan. Of course, a lot of excitement. The Indian diaspora gathered for the Prime Minister's arrival, something that is becoming a recurring feature of the Prime Minister's crucial visit. In fact, what you see on the right-hand side of your screen are pictures of the stage set for that crucial BRICS summit. This is the extended BRICS that is meeting in Russia. Various new members added, including, of course, Iran, which is why the focus is likely to be on the ongoing conflicts, both in Ukraine as well as what's happening in West Asia. Remember, last time the Prime Minister was in Russia, he reiterated the point he has made several times that this is not the era of war and that there will be no solutions that will be found on the battlefield. So the wars are going to be an important topic of discussion as far as the BRICS is concerned. But certainly, right now, the focus is on the meet that is likely between Prime Minister Modi and the Chinese Premier. This comes just a day after India also talked of disengagement and announced that some sort of consensus has been reached as far as the border dispute is concerned, and perhaps it's now almost as if the road is clear for some sort of a greater de-escalation. Remember, the border situation has been pretty concerning after the May 2020 Galwan clashes. After that, both India and China have taken several pot shots at each other. But as the army chief puts it, now the focus is on restoring and rebuilding trust. So India really sort of striking a conciliatory note, as many would say, as far as China is concerned, which is why the optics of the Prime Minister's likely meet with the Chinese Premier become so crucial in the backdrop of the Indo-Chinese de-escalation along the line of actual control. But let's focus now on all these pictures coming in from Russia, from Kazan, the Prime Minister's second visit to Russia in just 3 months. And this is going to be crucial in more ways than one. There are several other bilaterals that are also lined up on the sidelines of the BRICS Summit. And this is very much a bilateral as well as a multilateral visit. In fact, that's something that India has emphasized time and again, that we need to look at multilateralism. We need to look at taking the smaller players on board as well. India, of course, has championed the cause of the global south. That is something that has been the big focus as far as the Prime Minister's diplomatic outreach is concerned. And also the neighborhood first policy, and it's in that backdrop as well that India is looking to strike some sort of a conciliatory note with China. This is the 16th BRICS Summit that we are talking about, and on the sidelines this crucial bilateral meeting will be held. In fact, let's go to those live pictures of the Prime Minister's aircraft that just landed. Okay, the Prime Minister has landed. These are live pictures coming in, so a rather ceremonial welcome there for the Prime Minister, the Indian ambassador to Russia present there as well, and various top officials, all of them present there to meet the Prime Minister. This is the Prime Minister's second visit, so he has landed. He will be attending that BRICS Summit, but as I said, key bilaterals also lined up. But he will meet the diaspora shortly is what my sense is, because that has been the sort of schedule that the Prime Minister has been following as far as his visits abroad are concerned. As soon as he lands and after that ceremonial welcome, he usually goes straight to meet all those members of the Indian diaspora. Perhaps they were waiting outside the airport is what my sense is, and he will be meeting them shortly as well. But these are live pictures coming in. A lot of diplomatic undertones, key diplomatic undertones that we need to decode. Of course, the focus on China, the focus on the likely meet with the Chinese Premier, a major breakthrough, as many would call it, a major diplomatic breakthrough. But look at these colorful pictures. So, it's a lot also about color. It's a lot also about the diaspora's enthusiasm every time the Prime Minister goes abroad. But a ceremonial welcome certainly there for the Prime Minister in Russia. Last time around, just a couple of months back, when the Prime Minister was in Russia, the focus was on his bilateral with Putin, and how he emphasized the fact that this is not a time for war and that we need to look beyond the battlefield. That's what the Prime Minister had said back then. This time around as well, I'm sure the conflicts will be brought up as far as the discussions in the BRICS Summit are concerned, given the fact that Iran is also now a member of the BRICS, an extended BRICS that we are talking about. So both the conflicts are likely to be brought up as far as the conversation around the BRICS is concerned. Of course, many had written off BRICS as an irrelevant organization, but there has been a regrouping, as many would call it, a reformation of this entire formation, which is why this becomes so crucial. But my colleague Kadambini is in Kazan, and she sent us this report from there.
This time, this is an expanded BRICS, first BRICS summit, where 5 other nations who have joined recently during this year, they would also be participating. So it is a big chunk of world's GDP and population which is being represented here in BRICS summit. This is also a time where President Putin, who has an opportunity to show that he is not isolated as the West would like to portray. So there are many factors which would be taking place here. There would be bilaterals between several leaders. Also PM Modi would be doing the several bilaterals. One or two or most probably 3 might be slated for today with the Russian president as well as the head of the state of Egypt, and there might be more, but of course the Indian diaspora would be welcoming him first when he comes here. The preparations are on for that, and India and Russia bilateral would also encompass the whole gamut of relationship, as well as the focus which would be mainly energy security and the economic relations. So coming here in Kazan is a big BRICS summit, a message to rest of the world by President Putin, and for other leaders an economic bloc which is going to prove very important. In Kazan, Russia, Kadambini Sharma for NDTV.
And looking now at the other major development, and that is the India-China disengagement. That becomes crucial in the backdrop of the Prime Minister's visit to Russia as well, given the fact that he is expected to meet the Chinese premier there. And now the army chief has also spoken out on the India-China disengagement, paving the way for some sort of greater de-escalation. The army chief says that we are focusing on rebuilding trust and restoring trust, and that is so critical given the fact that there have been various setbacks for India as far as the neighborhood is concerned. Of course, what happened in Bangladesh, with Maldives, of course, initially, yes, with the election of a supposedly pro-China president, but his policy vis-a-vis India has also changed dramatically in the past 6 months. He visited India just a couple of weeks back, in fact, and he also emphasized, Maldives' close relations with India and how important they are. But despite that, there have been setbacks, and they cannot be ignored. The challenges cannot be ignored. The growing Chinese footprint perhaps cannot be ignored as well, which is why India perhaps striking a conciliatory note as far as China is concerned. India has minced no words at all when it comes to China or Pakistan for that matter, but accommodation and rebuilding and restoring trust is extremely important. And perhaps if you look at the larger picture of the BRICS summit, this is the message that is being sent out. India batting for the global south, yes, but India also looking to rebuild trust in an extremely uncertain time as far as geopolitics is concerned. There is a new geopolitical reality for sure, given the fact that new governments have risen across the world, conflicts are underway, whether it's what's happening in West Asia or the Ukraine war, a war that the world seemed to have lost interest in, but it's still causing as much destruction as it was perhaps 6 months ago, which is why his visit to Russia becomes so critical. Last time the Prime Minister was in Russia, he had also met the Ukrainian president shortly after in Ukraine. So India's role as a peacemaker also becomes important, and those optics also perhaps we need to understand. The Prime Minister's meeting with Putin, the Prime Minister's meeting with Zelensky, and how India is perhaps in pole position to talk about peace, to talk about global peace, global harmony. So that is extremely critical. But look at these pictures, a ceremonial welcome there for Prime Minister Modi, certainly India's moment in the spotlight, as many would say, and a quintessential Russian welcome for the Prime Minister there in Kazan. And in the backdrop of so many developments geopolitically, of course, two active conflicts in which India has been very clear that we have to look at solutions outside the battlefield. And of course, the other big diplomatic development, which has been the India-China disengagement bid. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar at the NDTV World Summit also spoke a great deal about the disengagement talks. He said that, well, this could pave the way for greater de-escalation, and that this comes right ahead of the Prime Minister's likely meet with Xi, which is why it's diplomatically so important. Take a look.
What Foreign Secretary has said is what I can also say, that for those who have not heard that we reached an agreement on patrolling, and with that the disengagement, we have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. So, so far I would say that's as much as I can share with you. I'm sure in due course, iske details वगैरह निकलेंगे.
So, will now India be able to patrol in the areas of Galwan, Depsang?
No, you see, there are areas which, for various reasons, after 2020, because they had blocked us, so we had blocked them. So दो तरफा था, Bob. So what has happened is we have reached an understanding which will allow the patrolling. For example, you spoke about Depsang. That's not the only place. There are other places also. So I think the understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
Line there, Jaishankar saying that we have gone back to a pre-Galwan situation as far as China is concerned. But let me go across live to Kadambini Sharma, joining us live from Kazan. So Kadambini, the Prime Minister has landed there. What's expected? What's on schedule? Of course, all eyes on the likely meeting with the Chinese Premier.
Of course, Vedant, the PM has landed here. He will be accorded the welcome. He was accorded the welcome according to protocol on the tarmac. Apart from that, he'll be reaching the hotel soon, where the Indian community, as well as some Russians who are closely associated with India, they'll be performing there. They are the artists who will be performing there. But also there would be important bilaterals today. We know that the summit is tomorrow on 23rd, but all eyes on the bilaterals which are taking place now. One bilateral is already happening, that is with President Putin here. The another one which all are expecting after yesterday's announcement about thaw in relationship between India and China and the patrolling rights agreements between India and China after 4 years. So that would be something which is being expected and very, very much possible, the bilateral meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. So let's see what time it does take place, because it hasn't been announced yet, or there are no indications about that. But there is a very, very strong possibility that bilateral might happen. The other bilateral which my sources are telling me are that with the Egyptian head of state, and that is also going to take place today. So there are at least 3 bilaterals which will happen. Now, as far as BRICS is concerned, we know that this BRICS is the one where the newest members of BRICS who have joined in 2024, they'll be formally welcomed. Now, with them joining BRICS, it has become a very strong economic power as well. And the theme of this BRICS is BRICS and Global South, building the future of the world together, as well as strengthening multilateralism for equitable global development and security. So these themes are in itself, they give away what exactly this BRICS is about. So it would also be a message to the rest of the world, the Western world especially, which President Putin would like to give, is that in spite of the claims of isolation of Russia. Russia is not isolated because more than 24 heads of states are visiting here for BRICS Summit. That is not isolation. More than 32 countries delegations here. That too is not an isolation, the state of isolation. So this BRICS is important in many ways. We also have to see what comes out of the meeting between PM Modi and President Putin, because in the meantime, when PM Modi had met President Putin last time, he has also met the American president as well as the Ukrainian president. So we'll have to see what comes out on that as well. Yesterday, when I had talked to the ambassador of India to Russia, Excellency Vinay Kumar, he had also said that there would be issues like global issues will be discussed, the regional issues will be discussed. So this is a whole gamut of issues and the relationship which are going to be discussed between President Putin and PM Modi. But of course, as you have said, all eyes would be on if a meeting takes place between PM Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Absolutely, the focus very much on that crucial Modi-Xi meet. But Kadambini, also India's role as a global peacemaker. The optics of the Prime Minister's visit to Russia, his second in just 3 months, that's also extremely crucial. India has, said often, the Prime Minister has reiterated that solutions need to be found outside the battlefield. Do you expect both the wars to be brought up in that crucial BRICS summit as well?
Well, usually what happens is that bilateral issues are not discussed in the multilateral forum. But if the bilaterals are happening, and especially a bilateral with President Putin is happening after he has when he met him last time, and then of course he met the president of US and the Ukrainian president. So we will of course see something coming out of it. Whether this peacemaker effort, or peacemaking effort is going to pay up is difficult to say. But we have also seen how President Putin has said that Brazil and India can be ambassadors of peace, and they can be mediators. But is the situation right for that kind of peace to come about? It's almost 3 years since this Ukraine-Russia war has started. So we will have to see what comes out of it. Of course, India has been trying its best in trying to play the peacemaker, trying to talk to all the parties. We know that conversations have happened, but whether something positive comes out of it is still to be seen. But of course, the effort is very important, and that is recognized not only by Russia, but of course other countries who are in the play as well.